Hey guys, so for this video, I'm going to talk about why you're not improving in Season 3. This is a pretty big topic I've wanted to cover for a while now. You guys would not believe how many messages I get from people saying they play all day every day but they're not getting better. They listen to my tips, they grind their mechanics, they play scrims, they do everything I've ever recommended, yet they see no results. If this sounds like a problem you're experiencing, then you've clicked on the right video. I've personally overcome it myself and know exactly what will help you guys as well. All I ask is that you watch this video until the end. I'm not gonna beg for a like or subscription. Just watch this entire video all the way through because every second of it is important. So with all of that being said, let's dive into the world of skill plateaus. A skill plateau is a long and flat stretch in the learning curve where no real progress is made. Regardless of how much time you put in, you are not improving. The conventional view held by many pro players, Energies 8, is that we develop skills up to our innate limit. That means some people won't get that good because of genetics. Personally, I think that's a load of BS. Nobody's skill is defined genetically, and to prove my point, I want you guys to meet a player named Blink. Blink is a 20-year-old Fortnite player / content creator that does not have hands. He was born without them. Still, Blink uses a standard Xbox One controller and is an absolute beast at the game. No joke, he could probably beat me in a 1v1 build battle. That's how insane he is. So for all of you guys trying to use genetics or your setup or ping as a cop-out for why you're not improving, that's not going to fly here. The only thing holding you back is yourself. As for the actual reasons our skills plateau is because we spend our time poorly, we fail to adapt, and we lose our attentiveness to perform tasks. Starting with not using your time the right way, this is probably the most common mistake I see. Just because you're practicing the game does not mean you're practicing efficiently. Way too many people think that playing Fortnite for 12 hours a day will automatically make them better. Newsflash, it will not. Players who practice smartly and focus on the right things can improve much more in much less time. For example, if you're trying to make it as a competitive player, you should not be playing a lot of scrims.
But itsJerian, all the pros play scrims. You've even told us to play scrims yourself.
I can't lie, little Timmy, you are right. I have said scrimming is beneficial. The reason I said that is because it is. Scrimming will undoubtedly help you in custom lobbies with stacked endgames. However, they will not help you get there. In case you guys don't play competitive Fortnite, every tournament or event nowadays has multiple rounds. The first round is called the open round and is where 99% of players fail to get out of. Like in cash cups, the second round is for the top 100 players from the first round. Let's say there's 50,000 people competing in that cash cup, which isn't even a lot. That means only 0.2% of the total players will end up moving on. Why all this matters is that you should not be practicing for the first round of an event the same way you would for the second one. For every first round of a tournament, players are put up against randomly selected players within their point range. They are not put into custom lobbies. Thus, because of that, some players, aka pros, are going to be way better than the rest of the people in their game. They know this too, and they know not to play it like they would a stacked custom. They instead walk around W keying, dropping 20 bombs, and qualifying with ease. Be aware, I am not saying you should go around fighting everyone like the pros do. Top pro players do not have to worry about not making it past the first round. They're good enough to drop a 20 kill dub like it's nothing. You guys on the other hand are not. That's why my advice for you is to practice to get to that level by playing Arena. Arena is currently the best way to practice for open tournaments. Scrims are not. Your opponents in Arena are going to be the same ones you run across in tourneys, the format and settings are going to be similar as well, and you'll actually be improving at what matters, which is winning fights. The absolute worst thing you can do to practice for tournaments like the solo FNCS is to play zone rule scrims. These are scrims where you cannot fight before a certain zone. You essentially land, loot up, and then run to the best possible spot on the map and wait until endgame. Don't get me wrong, I understand why this is a great way to practice for the second round of tournaments. There will be a ton of people alive in these scrims and you'll get used to insane late games. The thing is, those crazy stacked late games will not happen in the open rounds. You'll have 30-person moving zones at most since everyone is always fighting. And speaking of fighting, you are going to be forced to fight a lot of people. Whether it's off spawn, in the mid game, or while you're fully based up, other players will not hesitate to start engagements. Outside of being stupid, they know the only way to make it past the first round is to maximize their points by slaying out the lobby. You need to be able to stand your ground and win fights when you need to. So unless you're good enough to consistently make it to the second round of events, stop grinding scrims and start playing more Arena. Just think about it. Why would you spend all your time practicing for a format that you can't even participate in? I know players who spend 6 6 to 8 hours each night grinding scrims, yet they've never made it past the first round of a tournament. Please, boys and girls, do not be like them. Go into arena and get into as many fights as you can to become a better fighter. The more fights you get into, the better you'll become at fighting, and the less likely you'll be to die in the open round of a tournament. So again, stop wasting your time by practicing the wrong things, in my example, zone rule scrims, and work on what actually matters for your goals, like your fighting skills in arena. Next major reason you're not improving is you're not adapting to the meta. I've talked about the meta numerous times, but for those of you out of the loop, meta stands for most effective tactics available. It's basically the strongest strategy or way to play out the game. No matter how good you are, someone who caters to the meta will usually find more success. Remember the original Winter Royale solo tournament that took place in 2018? That was the same event where Epic added the Infinity Blade. CLG Sam landed on it during the semifinals, and he absolutely destroyed with it. Sam wasn't even that good mechanically. He was just smart, knew what the meta was before anyone else did, and used it to his advantage. In Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3, the meta isn't as easily defined. You can't just pick up a disgustingly overpowered sword like you could in Season 7. Still, you need to be able to adapt to whatever the meta is. My example for Season 3 is going to be not using the charged shotgun. To put it simply, the charged shotgun is meta. It does way more damage than the tac does, it has a way higher skill ceiling when used correctly, and it's what every pro and their mother uses. I get that it feels really clunky at first. It has an entirely new mechanic that none of us are used to. What you gotta realize is that the people who do end up adapting are gonna be way better off. They're gonna be the one winning tournaments and getting better. Everyone still taking the tac, on the other hand, will not be. Now, staying on top of the meta is not just about using a certain weapon or loadout. It's about fully changing your style of play to make the most out of it. I'm not sure how many of you guys watched my friend named Justical, but this was a huge problem he had a few days ago. Justical was playing really poorly in arena, and he did not know what to do about it. So I straight up told him he needed to adapt. If you try to use the charged shotgun the same way you use the tac, then you're not gonna have a fun time. The charged shotgun is a shoot to release weapon. It requires you to track your opponents, not flick onto them. Justicle's entire playstyle revolved around flicking with the tac. However, after he lowered his sense and started to flick less, he finally got his groove back. Go check out the video he made on it, by the way. Last thing I want to touch upon regarding the meta is how you can stay informed on it. Not everyone plays Fortnite all day or watches pro players like I do. Additionally, people adapt at different speeds. Some players are able to catch on to things way quicker than others can. So my advice is to subscribe to my channel as well as other pro analysts such as Destiny's Jesus, ReeseHub, and Monster Deface. When you think about the meta inside Fortnite, it's almost always crafted by the pros. They're the ones who grind the game, therefore they're the ones who know the best strategies. The only issue is that pros do not like to share their strategies. Why would they when they can just keep it all a secret? That's why I recommend you watch people who analyze pros. These are the people that know and share the meta the fastest. Also, we're almost at 1 million subscribers and I never sell out, so please hit that subscribe button. It's free. The final reason you're not improving is what I mentioned at the start about losing your attentiveness. Initially, when beginning to learn something, that could be chess, typing, driving, Fortnite, we work extremely hard to be decent. Then, after a lot of practice, the amount of mistakes we make fall to a low level even without sustained attention. That's the point at which we begin to switch off that attention and go on autopilot. You do not want to be on autopilot when trying to improve at Fortnite. Autopilot is when you just go through the motions doing the same thing every single day. Not only will this result in the first mistake we talked about, but it will also cause you to repeatedly make the same mistakes. My biggest tip to get around this is to put yourself in the same position you were in while improving. Think back to when you first started playing Fortnite. You played every day, you made a ton of mistakes, you noticed them, and you worked them out to stop making them. That's the same way you should improve even after reaching a higher level of proficiency. You have to keep pushing yourself to the point of making mistakes, have a means of identifying those mistakes, and then work to find ways to not make them. For Fortnite Battle Royale, the one aspect I want you guys to focus on is identifying your mistakes. I know for a fact you guys are playing tournaments and you are getting out of your comfort zones. The disconnect in the improvement process is what happens after you make a mistake. You guys are completely failing to identify it. Have you ever noticed that anytime a player like Benji Fishy dies, he automatically goes into replay mode? It doesn't matter how RNG the death was, he goes back and reviews it. Furthermore, once he's done playing for the day, he goes back again and VOD reviews the tournament with other people. Even pros like Benji know that most players have trouble objectively analyzing their mistakes. You may know where the mistake occurred, but you most likely have trouble putting it on yourself. That's the whole point of getting other people to help you with that step. Those people could be a teammate, a coach, or a friend friend, you just have to be able to figure out what mistakes you're making in order to improve. Overall guys, that is why you're not improving in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3. I promise you all, as long as you work hard and actually take my advice, you will get better. Doesn't matter how bad your setup or ping is, there is always room to improve at the game. If you don't believe me, just look at Zexro. Seriously though, itsJerian believes in you. So if you guys enjoyed the video or learned something new, do be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Shout out to everyone using code JERIAN. I apologize for not putting names up in my last video. By the time I remembered, the video was already public and I look like a clown. Feels bad, man. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.